Now let's talk about this little horn. And I've subtitled this one, Forerunner to the End Time Antichrist. So who is this little horn, this little kingdom? We saw in Daniel 7, verse 8, that he would come from among 10 horns, or the 10 kingdoms. That's what a horn means, essentially, as a kingdom. It will pluck up 3 of them. It had eyes of a man, and it spoke great things. Then we see a progression in verses 20 and 21. Again, that it would come from among the 10 horns, and we just see a repeat and enlarge. But it had eyes and a mouth, and it spoke very great things. So it went from great things to very great things. And then it was more stout or greater than the other kingdoms, and it made war with the saints. Looking in verses 24 and 25, we see again that it came from among the 10 horns, repeat, but now we're enlarging. It would be a different type of kingdom in that it's a religious kingdom. It had elements of Rome, elements of the iron, but it also had the clay, and the clay is the spiritual component. The great words that it would speak were great words against the Most High God, and we see that he wears out the saints, and in doing so, or thinks to change times and laws, which actually contributes to wearing out the saints, and he would rule for a time, times, and a half, or 1260 prophetic days. Now, we saw in the statue, again, head of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, legs of iron. We weren't given the name of Rome, but we know from history that Rome is who defeated the Greeks. We see this quote from Wikipedia: the definitive Roman occupation of the Greek world was established after the Battle of Actium in 31 BC, in which Augustus defeated Cleopatra VII, the Greek Ptolemaic queen of Egypt, and the Roman general Mark Antony, and afterward conquered Alexandria, the last great city of Hellenistic Greece. And we see that Rome itself was divided. In 284 Common Era, the Emperor Diocletian decided the empire was too large to be managed in one place. He split the Roman Empire into 2 halves, the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire. Diocletian became the ruler of the eastern half because since it had greater wealth. But the point I'm emphasizing is that Rome was divided first into the Eastern and Western empires, and I believe that's why it's got the 2 legs, but it would later become a spiritual empire. We saw also that there would be 10 divisions. We see the 10 kingdoms, or if you will, or countries of Europe, but 3 would be divided, 3 would be overcome, and those 3 were the Heruli, Vandals, and the Ostrogoths. And that set up the spiritual Roman Empire to be able to be in place. So what little kingdom arose from Rome, unfortunately, it was the Vatican City State. And please understand that I don't condemn individuals for whatever they do. I condemn systems. So whether it's here with regard to the papacy and the Catholic Church, I'm not even condemning these men that are on screen, or the people that follow them. And it's the same with anything. Whatever lifestyle choices people make, I personally don't condemn them for them. It's the sin that we should condemn, not the individuals, because we're all sinners who fall short of the glory of the Most High God. But I just want to show that this isn't just my interpretation or, again, my conclusion, but this is known for quite some time. But just looking at this, this is from the Bull Unum Sanctum by Pope Boniface VIII. He says, the Roman pontiff judges all men, but is judged by no one. Whereas Daniel says, the Most High God is my judge. We declare, assert, define, and pronounce to be subject to the Roman pontiff is to every human creature necessary for salvation. That which was spoken of Christ, thou hast subdued all things under his feet, may well seem verified in me. I have the authority of the King of Kings. I am all in all and above all, so that God himself and I, the vicar of God, or the one in place of God, have but one consistory, and I am able to do all that God can do. Now, a bull is the strongest papal language that can be issued, and it's not something that you can expect to change. This entity has made war with the saints throughout the years. We see several instances throughout history of massacres and inquisitions by the papacy. We see here that there was a medal to commemorate the slaughter of over 100,000 French Christians. When the news of the massacre reached the Vatican, there was jubilation. Cannons roared, bells rung, and a special commemorative medal was struck to honor the occasion. The Pope commissioned Italian artist Vasari to paint a mural of the massacre, which still hangs in the Vatican. So we see that the little horn comes out of Rome. And just a few quotes. George Nigrinus: the Jesuits claim to be sorely offended and have taken my declarations as an insult and blasphemy, and branding the papacy as the Antichrist of which Daniel, Paul, Peter, and John, and even Christ prophesied. But this is as true as it is that Jesus is the Messiah, and I am prepared to show that even by their own definition of the word Antichrist. Goes on to say, the Jesuit further contends that the papacy cannot be Antichrist because the papacy has lasted for centuries, but that the Antichrist is supposed to reign for only 3.5 years. But no one doubts today that Daniel spoke of year days, not literal days. The prophetic time periods of 42 months, 1260 days, 2.5 times are prophetic, and according to Ezekiel 4, a day must be taken for a year. So the little horn is the Antichrist. Martin Luther: nothing else than the kingdom of Babylon and the very Antichrist. For who is the man of sin and the son of perdition, but he who by his teaching and his ordinances increases the sin and perdition of souls in the church, while he yet sits in the church as if he were God? All these conditions have now for many ages been fulfilled by the papal tyranny. Matthias Flacius: the sixth and last reason for our separation from the Pope and his followers be this: by many writings of our church, by the divinely inspired word, by prophecies concerning the future, and by the special characteristics of the papacy, it has been profusely and thoroughly proved that the Pope with his prelates and clergy is the real true great Antichrist, that his kingdom is the real Babylon, a never-ceasing fountain, and a mother of all abominable idolatry. So again, this is not my words, my thought, my idea. I'm going from what the Bible has said. I'm looking at history and just reading quotes from others that have come to the same conclusion. And that now takes us to Daniel chapter 9.